What's up, guys? This is Music Universal Language Podcast. This is the 26th episode. Today, my guest is Hunter Covill. What's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being on. I know we haven't met before, but I guess it's kind of like how we're meeting people at the current moment, which is okay.
Yeah.
So it's cool we can connect. Yeah, and you said you were just having a little jam session earlier, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, with my buddy Zach Herringshaw from Montgomery. He's played in a few projects of his own. The Huge, Grand, Hornbeam. Those are a few bands he's played with, and we've just been great friends for a while. We met through the JP community. Had a lot of musical interests in common. I was working up at JP one day and was playing Miles Davis Bitches Brew on my iPod, and
nice.
He was like, wait, you must be a musician.
You know? Like, who listens to that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, this isn't casual listening.
Right.
Yeah. And
so does he live out there too, or is he still in Montgomery?
In Montgomery, yeah.
Oh, yeah, damn. So we can jam there, is what you're saying?
Yeah, we've been doing it outdoor. We have been doing it setting up on the deck and doing like sort of like a strip down, like half the kit, you know. Still set up like we bring out some extension for the bass and stuff. And normally we mess around with a lot of loops and synths too, but with limited power, we just bring out what we can and jazz it out.
Oh, right on. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be like even nicer in like next week, so yeah, I'd love to come out there, man.
Last week we had a really cool day of like 60 degrees jamming outside. Today was sweater weather, but we were jamming outside. And
it was nice, man. I was outside all day.
Yeah, we'll do it more for sure.
Right on, man. All right, well let's get into your musical history, man. Absolutely. His story. No. So how far back? When did you actually start playing an instrument?
I've always been really, really just musically curious as a child. I mean, even like from a toddler, I had a little guitar that I'd strum around.
Like a toy one, or just like a mini one? Get
up on the fireplace and sing George Jones or whatever, whatever I'd belt my heart out to,
Nice.
Really started taking guitar lessons in second grade.
Wow.
Didn't quite. I was bad at practicing, to be honest.
Go figure, right?
Sixth grade rolled around. I gave saxophone a shot. Was a little better at practicing my saxophone, but didn't think wind instruments, reed instruments were the thing for me. Sat down at my cousin's drum set at like age 10-ish, 10 or 11. And it's just like, yeah, this is something I could do every day, day in, day out. Took a tribal, like African drumming, like hand drumming sort of class in middle school to sort of like, show my parents I had enough interest to deserve a drum kit,
So where did you grow up?
Get into this. Yeah.
So where did you grow up?
From there, got my first kit, and it was just shred from there on out. Anytime I get, I grew up in Bloomfield.
Oh, okay. So where you are now, right on.
Yeah. Grew up there, right on the Connecticut River. I was born in Lancaster, New Hampshire.
Cool.
Closest hospital.
Right on.
Yeah, born and raised in Vermont for the most part. Yeah.
Right on, man. That's cool. All right, so you kind of knew by the age of 10 or 11, like this was your thing? Drums were percussion?
Yeah, this is like, I knew basically to be any good at musician takes a good deal of, self-discipline and practice. Like I'd had enough interest in music to have learned that. But the only thing I could see myself sitting and doing every day was the drums. Everything else I got a little lazy with practicing. Then, in middle school, high school, started to form bands with people, punk rock, classic rock cover bands, anything we could get through. But you get better as a musician naturally playing with with other
Practicing.
people if you have the desire to. And then through the drums and like being in bands and having musical collaborations with other people, had a desire to have an active part in the songwriting process of the groups I was in. So picked up the
Cool.
guitar again, and sort of was more motivated to learn it as a songwriting tool at that point.
All right. So how old were you then?
Then it
Was
was
like
probably
end of
eighth
high school?
grade or freshman year of high
Oh,
school that
okay.
I started. Yeah,
So
and then like high school was funny because like all throughout middle school I was like, you know, straight A student, like three sports kid, but like once music took hold, it was like, well, maybe I can play one sport a year. Maybe I can
yeah,
be a B student. You know, it's like
yeah, dude.
that was really what mattered, you know, and still is.
I could totally relate to that. Definitely. Yeah, it all
Yeah.
changes in high school. You kind of make that decision, like which path you're gonna go.
Yeah, yeah, it's
You know what I
becomes.
mean?
I think you start to like, you know, songs and everything at that time, they carry a lot of weight. So they sort of, you know, your musical identity becomes a part of your identity as well, you know, to a degree.
Yeah, well, it's almost like at your what you're listening to kind of matures, or you kind of like hear it in a deeper way. So it's almost like, oh, maybe I could write something like this or do something like this. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
being
and
inspired.
I've always kept a real open mind for sure. I mean, like if you'd asked me when I was 13, like, you know, who's the better band, Led Zeppelin or the Grateful Dead, right? I'm gonna say Led Zeppelin. You know, I'm a 13-year-old
Then
kid. That's very exciting, playing
you're like
loud and
rock,
fast.
yeah,
Now, as a more mature listener, I'm like, oh, the Dead were onto something here.
yeah. Well,
You
and it's
know, like
yeah, your musical ear grows, and I mean
yeah.
they're both like their own. I almost feel like Zeppelin is just like way too played out, and that has half to most of what to do
I
with
don't
like
know if it's like what they did was incredibly original, but then everybody had to try, you know, the blues, heavy blues
yeah,
thing,
for sure.
right?
I mean, the Dead did its own
Yeah.
version of blues, but it was definitely their own version of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was just like this great reinterpretation of Americana. You know, it's what I love with the Grateful Dead, and also
Well,
the fact that it's sort of like a leaderless. Obviously, Jerry sort of by default, but it's sort of a leaderless entity. You know, like
yeah.
everybody's trying to put their musical weight works
Well,
as a
with
collective a little better.
with having you know, Robert Hunter alone, not even, you know, being a singer or anything, and he's writing most of the lyrics, like, yeah, it was definitely like very collaborative.
Such a collective, collaborative, yeah.
And like what I like
Cross-pollinating sort
about, he actually takes a lot of like lines or like phrases from traditional songs and then like incorporates them into his original Dead
Yeah,
stuff.
it's very Dylan-esque, like the weaving of old literary tradition into rock and roll. And
like, yeah, paying homage in their own like hidden gem sort of way. Like you have to like know the past stuff to like hear it in the you know, the present or whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
Well, it's not the
sort of
present
similar to
anymore.
The band, you know, the band is writing songs about, you know, the Civil War and the, you know, the dislocation of Acadians in Quebec.
Even like Cripple Creek is like a
300
old.
years before they were around, but they're able to add some level of emotional depth to, similar to like Peggy O with the Dead. That's an old Scottish folk ballad from way back
Yeah.
that they just breathe life into.
Right. Yeah, it's it's a cool way to pay homage, and it's like I don't know, I like that more because you're kind of like showing your influences and inspiration as opposed to like just straight kind of like trying to imitate them. You know, you're kind of like
Right.
you're showing how you're absorbed by them and not emulating them, so to speak. Or I guess imitating is a better word, but
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
and even like, yeah, I mean, I used to do the cover band. We used to do like 50-50, but even doing that, it does something to your playing where, I don't know, maybe you just have like a higher standard when you play other people's music and then you make your own music higher standard, but something about it, man.
Yeah, definitely. And in high school, I'd say I was a little bit more concerned with, I guess, you know, making music with an edge to it.
Yeah.
You know, like that, or like, I don't know, just like, it's sort of like a process of weeding out. It's like, you know, if we want the people who are true fans here, you know, we turn it up loud and we play ugly, and if people stick around, then they're, I guess, they're the crowd we want, right? But that gets played out really quickly, I think. You know what I mean? Like that, it's all edge, no substance, almost. You know. So in high
Yeah, yeah.
school, my primary musical entity was a band called February. Luckily, one thing I did learn from February was like just how to, like, you know, fill the roles that need to be filled in a band. So I wasn't a drummer in that band because we were having a hard time finding a drummer.
Oh.
Um, well, we were having a hard time. Rather, sorry, we're having a hard time finding a bass player, and we had
So
somebody
you
else that
ended.
could play drums. So rather than just utilizing my drum skills on the drums, I played bass and sing. You know, because it was what was needed.
That's cool.
Was it the best? No, but did it, like, you know, put me to the challenge of just having to get up and do it? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And from here on out, I've always, even when am doing what I'm much better at, I think, in drumming. When I'm doing that, I'm trying to only do for the song what it needs. You know, sometimes you just need to drop out. Sometimes you need to pause. Sometimes it only needs atmospheric things.
It's all
Learning when not
equally
to
as
play,
important.
knowing when to play.
Yeah. No, and that's in almost like, especially when you're younger, like you said, stuff with an edge. It's like, as a drummer, and like almost every song can like be aggressive. You know what I mean? And you almost like learn. You know, when you really listen to like all kinds of music, I mean, there's certain drum tracks on songs that are just so basic or so simple because it's what the song needs, or vice versa.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all relative to how you want to accompany. Did I say that right? Accompaniment.
Yeah.
I always fuck up that word, but
Yeah.
so it's that's a great point. You know
Absolutely.
what I
Like,
mean?
I find myself, like, I was just having a discussion with Zach earlier. Like, I was doing like keeping a backbeat with just like hi hat and cowbell, you know. And I was talking to him. I was like, why do people feel like there's always got to be the snare there? You know, if you cut that snare out for a while, the snare is going to be
Yeah.
really effectual back in. You know what I mean?
Right.
Little things like that, like being aware of nuance.
Well, it's
That's really to be found in music. So luckily, my musical path really evolved big time from literal punk rock, like, to straight up, like, almost like jazz fusion. But that was just through the course of many years of just playing and tinkering, and
right.
yeah. By the time I got to college, I was interested in forming another band. I wasn't a declared major in music yet. I went into college thinking I was going to do more like video production stuff. I was into art, you know, film and stuff, and I directed the school news channel and stuff.
Dope.
Into broadcasting film. Thought that was going to be more the way I chose to express myself, but in college I found myself more often playing music than doing my homework, and figured if I was going to do that, I may as well study
Embrace
that.
it. Right.
Declared my major actually is music business with a concentration on audio engineering.
Right on.
So I've learned a great amount of, like, you know, live engineering aspect, you know, a little bit of production, Pro Tools. Even learned how to spool up a reel-to-reel tape machine. You know,
Oh, hell yeah.
kinds of stuff that I don't necessarily use every day, but I'm glad that I know.
I always wanted to like record one of those simultaneously while you do it with the digital at the same time, because it wouldn't be that hard to do, actually. But you'd have to have a multi-channel reels. That'd be, or you could just get like a good mix and the reel would get that. But yeah, I mean, that's what they say. Like, original tape reels, those are like, the best quality you'll ever hear. It's like how they wanted everyone to hear it. A lot of hip-hop
producers, you know, obviously it's a digital world these days, but will still bounce their drum tracks onto tape and then back to digital, just because, you know, it just has a certain, it's like its own EQ. It just really carries the low end of the beat very well. It's like you EQ, it's like a trick. Just EQ your hip-hop drums perfect.
When you can get like those like like some type of multi-track recorder for like cassette tapes, even like a fresh, because it's an actual tape, it's an actual tape reel. That even could sound, I mean, not probably as good as an actual.
Like the magnetic response of that tape, of like the way that it records, electromagnetically to the tape. There's just something about that just, I mean, you listen to old hip hop on a cassette, and it's got a different slap, for lack of better words.
It thumps like, no, I know exactly what you mean, actually. But no, I think that's it's really interesting how that works. But like, I've heard it described before, like digital. If you like were to look at it visually, it's like a bunch of little holes in the frequency, digital, and then a tape's like a natural wave.
Yeah, you got a wave flow or a bar graph.
Well, there's like dots within. There's like holes missing within the wave. Like it all syncs together, but it doesn't flow the same way or something.
Yeah, it can create these weird. So what it'll do is, like, if you're, it'll happen with CDs a lot. You have to EQ out these certain frequencies. They're just called Nyquist frequencies, and they're just kind of like these ghost frequencies that are generated by those, like that lack of data being present. It's very weird. Psychoacoustics actually is something I learned, and it's like literally the relationship of sound with the human mind, and how our mind perceives a harmonic that's not even necessarily there. Like when we listen to music in cathedrals and you have all that great reverb. The reason our ears like reverb is because we're hearing implied harmonics.
It's like
the way sound works is just the most intangible thing. It's beautiful.
It's like the wow, that's interesting. Yeah, because it's like natural reverb. It's like everything's extra sustained. Everything's like prolonging, so it's almost like resonating in your head longer. Yeah. So I guess you're getting
exactly.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I guess you're probably getting those high notes that you don't hear, but somehow the frequency.
Yeah, these reflections. So like when a sound reflects, it's going to reflect back at you at a slightly different frequency than it was produced. And our mind's tendency is to imply harmony. Same with, like, you'll listen to Afrobeat music. A lot of the background vocals are like dissonant. They're not quite a harmony, but the harmony is implied. It's there because we just know. We're like programmed, it's in our DNA. It's like you see Bobby McFerrin does it too. So he does this little act where he's like, bo, ba, bo. And then when he moves to the other way, where he hasn't even, done it yet, but the audience all knows, they know what that interval is. It's just, music is sort of what makes us human a little bit,
Yeah, well, and hopefully that's one thing the robots can never replicate too well. Right. I mean, I guess they can in their own way, but not in an original form.
Unless we program it.
We program, so you could play any sort of music formation possible.
Robobot.
Yeah.
It's like Robobot.
Well, don't they say, like playing a record, that's the closest you'll hear to the actual original masters?
Yeah, like records too. Records also do, tremendously well with the low end.
And it's almost because the vinyl's like a thick thing. Well, I mean, I guess a tape's not as thick as a vinyl, but you're still like taking a physical substance. I don't know how to explain it.
I mean, if you're a real audiophile, you nerd out with it, and you get like a real good weighted machine, that where you don't have all the vibration, and you get a good glass needle or something. I honestly love the pops and pips and scratches. I'm more of a just drop a needle on a record and I'm happy. But you can really the thing is, people don't realize just how high fidelity of audio they were capable of hearing back in like the modern era, like first modern era.
Well, it's almost
mid-century, like 60s. Those, like, if they had a good needle and a really good console, they were getting sound like we'll never hear, and it's just insane to think.
Right, or like you only maybe hear on a. Do you own a tape reel? You just know how to work one.
No, I don't own a reel to reel.
That would be
Wish.
awesome. Yeah, I just think it'd be cool to like if you recorded like a whole session on both simultaneously, and then you could like compare. And then if you wanted to really geek out, you could put both mixes on a computer and like blend them.
Yeah, you mix, know, take the best of each mix.
And then you record them both, or you save them both on both formats. No, something like that. All right, well let's.
College, I was looking to form another band, and I, it didn't happen right off. Like I said, I wasn't a declared music major yet, but I declared it, and then formed a band called Victory Orchard, which sort of just started as like a bedroom recording project that I was able to staff with members, which was a great group of musicians.
Cool.
Really excellent. We recorded an album. We really cut our chops. So we did this Abbey Road at Linden State College. We played Abbey Road in its entirety with another group of musicians. And that was really popular. So Parker Pye and Glover sort of approached the music department to see if they could do something like that monthly, like a monthly cover set, like a residency type thing.
Right on.
So it was called the Kingdom Tribute Review. And that's where I really cut my chops with my band Victory Orchard. So
you were drumming?
Review every
Drumming
at this point.
Cool.
Drumming, but songwriting, doing a lot of songwriting with my band as well. So like drumming was my primary instrument, but using guitar and stuff in my own time to help craft the songs with the band, and produce lyrics. Just because I always wanted to be a part of the composition as well.
Yeah, totally.
One thing, area where a drummer can, I feel like, unfortunately sometimes feel left out. Like on a copyright, you can't copyright a drum beat, but you can copyright a chord structure.
Isn't that weird?
Melody. Yeah.
But then it's like, but then people sample drum beats.
Brown's drummer, the most sampled drummer of all time, died almost penniless.
Yeah.
How does?
So wait, so James Brown was getting sampled when they'd only sample like a little drum beat. James Brown would get paid?
It's like literally the guy invented hip hop and he died penniless. Really sad. But
that's crazy.
It is what it is. So I always wanted to have a big part of the compositions because, like, playing music, I feel like also you can contribute more as a drummer if you understand what's going on melodically and chord wise as well. If you understand chord changes, then you're going to know where you need to play more dynamically so that they're accentuated in the composition.
Yeah. Knowing the structure of the song to the fullest.
Absolutely. And I'm very inspired by, there have been great drummers that are band leaders, in jazz. Very inspired by jazz. Like, I almost less like to define myself as a rock player these days. More just leaning toward just at least that ethic and that discipline of just exploring musical territory.
Right.
But the jazz guys really influenced me that a drummer can be a band leader. A drummer can, be just as musically involved in compositions as any melodic or rhythmic instrument.
Totally. What's some of your jazz influences? Like some of your favorites?
Some of my favorite jazz drummers, definitely you got Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. These are also people that really heavily inspired Ginger Baker.
Okay.
Ginger Baker was a bit of a gateway to jazz. When you're a kid and you hear like Sunshine of Your Love and you hear those just like thunderous flams.
Right.
Backbeat is just like completely backwards in that song, and it just thunders like won't play like that. You're like, what is the root of that? Why does he play so much different than other rock drummers? Like, and you realize it's because he more defined himself as a jazz drummer than a rock drummer.
Yeah. It's
Lots of
kind of
great.
rare.
Oh man, I could just go on forever on the subject of jazz drummers. But Billy Joe Jones, Tony Williams, yeah, geez, you
Right
got
on.
all day. Mac Roach, um, just that jazz swing, and also Bill Ward from Black Sabbath, probably one of the
Right on.
only players in like heavy music that was really able to incorporate swing into an aggressive style of music. That was really big for me early on, hearing Bill Ward, realizing you can swing, you can put a swing
Yeah.
on some heavy music.
Yeah. Swinging metal. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And like a lot of these guys, I take it, they also like you said, were part of the songwriting process, or like, I guess in jazz, it's like definitely everybody's part of it, obviously, because it's like
Yeah, it's
improvised
the
and
composition and everything else is improvising and embellishing on that.
yeah.
So really hard even in a jazz composition to say who is the composer to a degree. I guess it's really who wrote those chord changes. But
When
in a
it's still
jazz sense.
like it's always one of the a sax wind instrument who I guess stands out a lot of times. Sometimes guitar, but I mean I think a drummer and bass can equally stand out, but usually like the leadist you would consider
Right.
a wind instrument maybe.
I just
The soloist.
much less these days define myself on my ability as a musician by like how I can just like shred on my own or solo, and just really like to see how I can like put my best sound in a group setting,
Hell yeah.
tribute to the best sound a group can make, because really magic happens there. Yeah.
For the love of the song or the sonic values.
Yeah, like a lot of people, I didn't care if people recognized me as a songwriter in Victory Orchard, but at the end of the day, if they liked a song, I had pride in knowing I had a part in composing it.
Yeah, totally. No, and
And
I think it's a really cool thing when you can
doing
do
as a
it
drummer what
as a
fits
band.
the composition most.
Right. No, it's cool when everyone can have an input and you can collaborate like that. It's sometimes can be a hard thing to do, or a rare thing to find, I should say, but when it works, it works, Like you said, a lot of magic can definitely happen
Absolutely.
within the music. All
And
right,
you
so how long did this band is this band still going?
No, this band isn't still going. We were probably active for like 3 years or so throughout
Cool.
college. Um, Now, the guitarist of that band was Donovan Delabriere, really great musical collaborator of mine, one of the absolute most talented, brilliant lead guitarists I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And I've gotten
Right
to
on.
play with him since in other groups, one being the Aardvark jam band.
Yeah.
Does a lot of cover material as well, but with some original as well.
Cool, man.
Drumming as well in that band.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
So and so what happened after Victory Garden? What was like the next project, so to speak?
Yeah,
Multiple?
after Victory Orchard, like a lot of little bit of solo, just like wanting to almost, sort of wanting to prove myself as a songwriter after Victory Orchard, and doing like a little bit of, I guess you'd call it, solo stuff, but just more wanting to show that I can do things beside drum.
Cool.
Released a couple Bandcamp releases, one under the title Moonbeam. That one was a very experimental piece.
Yeah. I like that.
Sort of was going for something ambient that could sort of just like be almost like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a multimedia, part of a multimedia experience. The
I was thinking
whole
that it had like a
composition
tribal.
is just like one big, almost like 15-minute like ambient composition. It's meant to just like sort of be used in accordance with meditation.
Oh, right on.
At least
Yeah.
my concept behind it works for me. Anyway.
It had like a tribal feel to it. It kind of was.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see it being a meditative thing, like almost like a trance-like sort of repetitive.
Absolutely, and there's a long monologue in there, a long vocal passage, And the vocal monologue was actually that was recorded by the female lead singer of Victory Orchard, and then afterwards I altered the frequencies. She sounded almost demonic, I guess.
Oh,
But
okay, cool. So,
that's a whole Robert Frost poem. That's The Mending Wall by Robert Frost. Key line in there is good fences make good neighbors. Whole poem, these two farmers are mending the wall between their property, and the one neighbor is having this internal monologue with himself, thinking, well, why do we mend this wall every spring? I have an apple orchard and he has cows. There's nothing that needs walling in or walling out.
right.
But neighbor just says good fences make good neighbors. So it's kind of about
Putting up walls.
relationship with themselves. And yeah, I don't know, it's just a very, you can read between the lines in that one a lot.
Oh, yeah. No, it's setting boundaries, right? When it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
Putting up a unnecessary blockade.
Interesting. Yeah, you can read it. You can read it in many. I mean, Robert Frost is an absolute genius. Just like as a New Englander, I find a lot of inspiration in his words.
Cool.
Got the chance to visit his grave. It's in Bennington, actually. If you ever get the chance, go to Bennington, Vermont. People leave pennies on it. I don't know why, but I left a penny. Guess it's in honor.
I was down there. I did a gig down there last summer sometime. But yeah, that's cool, man. Robert Frost, right on. So you said you had the female vocalist from Victory Garden?
Victory Orchard, yeah.
Oh, Victory Orchard? Why am I thinking Garden?
Yeah, but yeah, so she was really, she introduced me to this poem. She's a very good, like, she was sort of like a drama kid. She was like good at acting and singing. She's very cool.
So she had good stage presence.
So she was the person to deliver this monologue for sure.
And so are you guys all still cool, Victory Orchard, or did it end okay? End well?
The bassist and the singer I haven't seen in quite some time, unfortunately. But Donovan and I are still, as friendly as you can be during COVID.
Yeah, exactly right. We're all trying to fucking socialize, but it's hard. Yeah. I guess it's strange that like we all like socialize on social media anyways. Now it's like the only way we can. When it used to be
what really reminded me is like what the purpose of social media should be. Like I see a lot of people are doing this like 30-day album challenge thing. And that's usually what I'm on social media for, is like I'm just digging for content. I'm like, like I'm a part of the Miles Davis group, and I'm always people are always sharing new, better content. Like I thought I was this Miles aficionado, and I didn't realize I'd only really started scratching the surface,
Right.
But wow,
I can imagine,
I'm part of that group. You know what I mean? It's like that's what people should be using these things for, not fear and I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think it's like it's the freedom we can all post whatever we want, obviously, but like obviously some people are like triggered by some things, and sometimes I'm like I can't believe, I guess you consider someone a troll, and it's like you literally just get online just to like kind of find issues to point out with people. It's like, how do you even have time for this? You know what I mean?
It's very strange. I mean, like, I was actually discussing this with somebody today, how, like, the government, like, created this internet for military purposes, and that's I don't know how I feel about that or not. Then they turn it loose on the public, and it almost does more damage than the military ever could with it.
Well, it's almost like, they start to, without even forcing us, we begin to become what they predict. In a natural way.
And what's really sad about it is that everybody can live in their own like bubble. Like that's one thing social media does well, unfortunately, where people just only receive the content that supports their worldview. So everybody lives in this ideological bubble, But we won't go down that rabbit hole.
Right, exactly. No, I mean it's strange, man. It's strange, but I think it's also like I try to do the same thing, man. I'm always searching for new artists, new music, new content, anything, you know, it's the stuff you're already interested in, art in general. But
I
it's almost like
like
you got to work
even
at
shit,
like not,
something I hate.
huh?
I hear something I hate that inspires me too. Like I'm like I don't want to sound like that, but like I try to
Yeah.
find inspiration in all art. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, totally. I mean, that's the whole thing. Even like music, I don't really like that much. I try to like okay, well maybe they got a good voice, or maybe they got a good guitar player, whatever. It's like
try to find the value. You know, people wouldn't be consuming it in such a massive fashion if it didn't have some shred of value. Try to
right.
pick it out, find that rather than be a hater in most circumstances.
Well, and it's like what I was just saying. It's like, what's so hard if you see something you don't like, just to keep scrolling, you know?
Yeah, it's just not my
Yes.
cup of tea. You know what I mean?
But I
Um,
will say, it's almost like you're saying, it's almost set up like you almost have to work at not getting involved with the drama and shit. You know, like it's almost like a challenge
yeah,
to stay positive, even if you're naturally positive and that's all you want to do. It's easy to like get distracted by negative things, and it's like, oh man, that's
yeah.
when I just tap out. I'm like, I can't be online for a while, or
It's absolutely
you know,
crucial to maintain your inner peace and music, man. What a better way. You know what I mean?
oh yeah. I mean, that's the one thing I've liked about this. I just gone like full focus on recording, and it's stuff I've wanted to do for a while, but my schedule is just way too busy. So,
Yep.
you know, what better time? And then simultaneously, like you said, everybody's like looking. People who want good content or entertainment, so to speak, are looking for it
You know, a
right
lot of
now.
people
So,
are just really they just don't know what to do. You know, a lot of people who've had a gig to play every night, you know, kind of getting
yeah,
discouraged, you know, and
right.
am I get to do this again? But
I
it's
know.
just so important to remain inspired because like the art's not going to go anywhere if you remain inspired. You know, you have plenty of time to play your instrument now. Do it whether you're getting paid or not. You
Right.
know,
Well, and
play
at
what you
least
love. It'll keep you sane.
one, and if we can't play gigs right now, at least we can see each other playing, and you can even do
Yeah,
those. You know, I don't know if those live jam things always work the best, but I've seen a couple bands do them where they're, you know, jam kazam, or they're all. It's like
yeah.
four people jamming on the same screen. Or
I gotta
whatever,
say the best one I saw that was like an online Zoom jam or whatever that was actually fruited a really good product. I saw uh, Bill Lesh and Terrapin Family. They did Box of Rain. They did a good Box of Rain that they put out.
I'm sure they got a
What
great
miracle
sound.
content to get people through the quarantine anyway. In the
Oh
first,
yeah, absolutely. When I
yeah.
and like I'm sure they got like the highest quality, because I think half of it's like hearing everybody while playing at the same time, and you know,
Yeah,
like
you gotta have great monitoring and everything. Nothing's gotta be buffering. It's gotta be high speed internet, good monitoring.
and the
I've
high
never been.
quality
Uh,
headphones, wireless headphones that you can't really see, especially if you have
yeah,
hair.
I've had a hard enough time just filming a YouTube drum cover or something. I don't know how
Well, and
people
that's drums is one of the hardest, man, because it's like you could
can't hear
easily
yourself, hear everything.
even with great headphones on, it'd be hard. I'm sure as soon as you start playing to hear somebody else on the computer, you know, like at a clear level. Or I
Yeah,
guess you could play like with brushes maybe or something soft.
yeah. That was one thing that was like probably one of the best musical compliments I've received lately. Jamming with some people, and they said, "Hey, I can like hear myself play when I play with you." Because
That's
that's
cool,
something
man.
that's like as a drummer, anybody can smash it.
Yeah.
Anybody can hit hard. Finding the ability to play with precision and speed quietly, that was like a 10-year process, and you know what I
Mm,
mean, like of
yeah.
being able to do it like on cue.
Right.
Um, music, I don't know if you feel this way, but music can sometimes it can feel like just like sort of this like there's a certain amount of isolation that comes with wanting to hone your craft. Like I spent a lot of time in my basement playing these drums thinking like why do I care so much about this.
Yeah,
Then just to receive
exactly.
one musical compliment like that like redeems it all.
Yeah, well, and and sometimes that those are the greatest rewards and like the only rewards in a sense, but I mean it all comes back around, and just by, you know, the fact that you had a thing at Parker Pie, you said for like what was it? You said a couple years you guys were doing a monthly thing?
Yeah,
Cuz
like
the
learning,
original
and so
thing
we
did so
do.
good.
we had to do like 2.5 to 3 hours of music, like every, a new set, new artist, oftentimes
Right.
entirely new genre.
So by
Um,
this time, you'd already been playing drums for 10 years or more.
yeah, by that time, so like, let's see, I
So
started
it's
drumming when I was like 10 or 11, 27. So yeah, at least, I mean, now we're saying I've been doing it for at least 15 or 16 years. Then 10, yeah, then about 10 years already.
so it's
But
like
that's when I like really desired to just not be able to show that I can play it, but it's like, okay, can you play this well? Can you play multiple styles? Can you play
right,
loudly and quiet? Can you
totally.
not play too fast?
Well, and
Just discipline,
I'm sure
really.
that was a great like training in a sense because well, and specifically that album or even most Beatles songs, they can go very loud to very mellow to no drums to
Right.
you
Yeah.
know. So I guess that kind of like must have came full circle around. You're like, oh shit, I can not be like every
Yeah.
other drummer. No.
Learning wildly different styles, like doing like a Bob Marley night, and like it's like, oh, learning reggae is literally backwards music.
Oh,
It's
dude, to the
literally
drum parts.
Western music flipped on its head, everything's on the 1 and the 3 instead of the 2 and the 4. But being able to learn that I feel like, that one night, that Bob Marley night made me 10 times the drummer I was the night before that or something. You know what I mean? Just learning a whole different feel, you know. Um, yeah, it
Experience
blows your
speaks
mind
volumes.
wide open. You get to see the value in all these different genres, and you become more eclectic. And you stop defining your musical taste more rigidly. It just comes sort of naturally, I think, if you care enough about music.
Well, and the best music is can't be really defined by a genre. It's a combination of many things, and I mean, even like jazz in the
Like I was
term
telling you,
itself
back
is
in
like,
middle school, I had this teacher that would like lend me like Led Zeppelin DVDs and CDs and stuff, and I can credit him with a great fair amount of my musical influence. I just remember him telling me he used to say, Led Zeppelin would be the greatest band in the world if it wasn't for the Grateful Dead. And it made no sense to me then. I was just like, but what? I mean, the Grateful Dead to me just seems like guys that couldn't figure out what they wanted to do. But then later on, I realized it's just like, no, like they just aren't willing to categorize themselves.
right.
Um, and that's where I'm at musically. I'm not
You
willing to
know,
categorize myself anymore.
the Dead never wrote a set list ever.
Really? I didn't know
They
that.
were they would rehearse like a good group amount of songs, but when they got on stage, they would decide right then. And when they would mix the songs, they would decide right then. And it was all like that's what
Yeah.
they said. I mean, some would say it could be the worst or best show of your life because depending on how the jam went and that crowd energy and what's going
Well,
on.
Bill Graham, the promoter of the Fillmore East, used to say it best, I think. He said, the Grateful Dead are not the best at what they do. They're the only ones that do what they do. And at the
And
time,
many
they
of
very much were.
and many have tried to replicate, And the Dead did a ton of covers as much as they're known for their Dead songs, their Dead
Right.
originals. They did,
Well, yeah, and
they
there are
were
songs that
playing the
you might
Beatles
like,
and
like I was referencing Peggy O. I don't know if the average fan knows that. I'm sure the average Deadhead knows, but I'm
right.
not sure if the average casual Grateful Dead fan would be able to tell you that's a Scottish folk ballad.
Well,
But
doesn't he do the more traditional version with David Grisman? Or
yeah,
is that
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I love Peggy O. It's just like literally 100-year-old tale of sorrow that is made relevant again by you hippies.
It's, yeah. Well, in like the Dead had such like crazy harmonies and they did all sorts
Yeah.
of
There's another
experimental.
instance of where sometimes it's implied harmony, but you're vibing with them, so it
Yeah,
works.
exactly. They were on a
It
different.
does the same thing very much, and as such a deadhead, like once I'd come around to being one, more in high school, less in middle school, um, I had this weird like preconceived connection in my mind that there was some connection between the Dead and Fish. I don't think I realized that just kind of only happened organically because like when Jerry died, their crowd just sort of switched lots, you know. But
Right.
I sort of was like, not Fish wasn't my thing for a long time because I was like, these guys are trying to sound like the Dead. They're not doing a great job, you
Yeah,
know.
they're not-
I didn't
yeah,
realize they weren't trying
yeah, they were. Yeah.
at all. And then once I realized, once I got rid of that one preconceived notion, I was just as big a fan of Fish as anything, you know, because there's so much jazz in Fish.
Yeah, that's true for sure.
So much, yeah,
They jam for sure. Like they definitely
yeah,
do stuff on a jazzy jam level.
yeah.
I like a
I
lot
saw them
of
in Saratoga last year before COVID, obviously. But man, I mean, seeing them live really sealed the deal for me. It's like, okay, this is an experience. You know, you see 30,000 people moving in a wave together subconsciously. You know, it's like you guys are creating a pretty magical energy here. Great.
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. No, and that's that's it's equally as important the crowd and the energy of the crowd,
Absolutely.
as the band, and that's I don't know. There's moments that you share on stage with like you don't always get it, It's not always hard to find that, but some
Right.
some have theories of how they would get their crowd in just the right mood, especially back in the day.
Of course, yeah.
But it was at the same time, even being under substances, you're still trying to like get to the same level of like a universal feeling of the music. You know what I mean? Like you're all kind of
Absolutely.
like feeling it in the same way. You're all in the same wavelength, at least temporarily. Even if for like a moment of a song, it's
Right.
like you're feeling
I brought
something.
my little boy. I've got a 3-year-old, but he was like 18 months old at the time. His first show was Dark Star Orchestra, and
Nice.
that really. So I was, speaking of substance and Grateful Dead, I was on no substances at all. Bringing my son to his show,
Yeah.
that was the trip. Seeing my son get down to this music was the trip. You know what I mean? Like
Wow. Yeah.
he's dancing to Franklin's Tower. He's getting
That's
down to
awesome.
Franklin's Tower. And you got the line, in another time's forgotten space, your eyes looked from your mother's face. And I'm just like, he's getting down to this. And I'm just like, this is cosmic. This is unreal, Robert Hunter. Like you're like defining the situation, like
Right. Right.
to a degree. Just beautiful. I mean, I literally like cried some happy tears in that moment. It's
Hell yeah,
like
dude.
no sense is necessary. This music is magical.
And that's what it's all about, man. And I think that's why we create, right? It's for those moments, those instances, those experiences.
that
So
that intangible, that reminder of why we're here. Separates us
yeah,
from the worms in the grass.
yeah. Hopefully, yeah. We're all just molecules, right? Or atoms.
In a larger thing, I would hope so.
Well, you know what an atom is magnified, right? Or what it looks like.
Yeah, like sort of like a solar system,
Like a
right?
galaxy, yeah. It looks like a
Yeah,
galaxy. So
yeah.
who knows what's in us, man?
My
What are
son's
we in?
showing planets right now. He can tell you, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, or whatever. He says it all so fast. And he's explaining to him because so Fish has a new song called Mercury, and in it's talking about, there's a line that says, "Your day is longer than your year," and that's true. On Mercury, the day is longer than the year. It rotates
Ah,
slower,
right.
revolves. So explaining that to him, and his little mind is just blown. As my mind
Right.
is blown, man. It's like that's not going to get any less mind blowing ever.
Yeah, no, like it takes a whole year for a day or even
And
longer.
then
Yeah,
it's longer
exactly.
than the year.
As the sun.
Crazy.
Yeah, mind blowing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I like going off on tangents, definitely.
Yeah, whatever.
So what? Yeah. So okay, where the hell were we?
Well,
We
that's a Fish song. That's music. I mean, Fish just released a new album on April 1st. People thought it was going to be an April Fool's joke, but it was the real deal. That
Oh,
song's
right
from
on.
that album anyway. Been listening to that a lot. Always
Cool.
listening to a lot of Miles.
Right on.
Right now, I've been revisiting an old R&B saxophonist, Illinois Jacquet. I just feel like he was tremendously underrated. I used to work at this like seafood shack, and this old man who actually got to see a lot of these like jazz and bebop legends like live would come by and like get a lobster roll and talk with me for like an hour about jazz. And like
yeah.
a lot of old ladies would like his wife and stuff would be like, quit bothering him, like they thought it was just being nice, like trying to talk with this old man, like, but they didn't know. It's like, no, lady, like this is like my scene, like
I'm actually curious.
You know what I mean? Like
exactly. You're like, no way.
Yeah, so he introduced me to Illinois Jacquet. To be honest, I can't even remember this gentleman's name, but I'm glad I got to talk music with him.
Right. All right. So the most current has the duo thing. This existed kind of before Corona.
Mm-hmm. Me and Zach, yeah,
you guys been jamming for a while. How long you guys been jamming?
Some new territory. We've been trying to form a trio for so long because we were roommates at one point and friends for a long time, and just very much musical compatriots.
Cool.
So we were trying to.
So you guys have known each other since college?
It's been sort of like a revolving door of guest players, but we sort of just realized that with modern technology, we can sort of be the third player.
Right. So you guys have known each other since college, you said?
Since a little after college, when I was working at JP, because when I
oh, that's what you said, right? Cool.
Brew bitches brew. Yeah.
Right on, man. Wow.
It's a great way to start a friend. Good way to weed out the men from the boys.
There you go.
There. Just brew.
And so does he play any other instruments as well, or is he mainly bass?
Bass and keys.
Keys, okay.
He plays drums, and I can play bass. Like earlier today, I picked up his bass, and he sat at the drums, and we jazzed out for a little while. We just are trying to do like the aces in their places thing. Do whatever we're best at is what we're gonna focus on, and then we're gonna try to use some loops so that we can embellish on that further without necessarily needing all kinds of different players. Open to guests, but me and him have just been playing together for so long that we gotta finally have some musical output.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. Especially like if you're playing together that long, you just kind of like know what to do and know where to go with the song.
Instincts are sort of in the same place, like we'll hang out sometimes. There'll be days where we just listen to music together instead of play, and I think that's just as important because it's it's like a gestation. You're planting the seed.
Well, it's like always learning. Even listening to music you already know, you can hear stuff you didn't always hear. You can like focus on things you might not always focus on. And I was trying to explain that to another friend who plays guitar, and it's like you could be practicing music when you're not playing it just by like thinking about what you want to do with it, or like I don't know, memorizing structures, or like listening in a different way, you know what I'm saying? So
me and Zach have seen a lot of music together too, which is cool. We've gone to a lot of live shows together, and we always say like it's like everybody else is getting down. I mean, we're bobbing our heads, but when we go, we're at class. We say, we're at school right now. Don't interrupt me.
I feel the same way, dude. I feel exactly, yeah, dude. Like that's what I always used to say. Like songwriters are like my teachers. I'm like a student. You pay attention to every little detail, especially with a show presence, what they say, how they play. Pay attention to everything, man.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Government Mule together. We've seen Ween together, Fish together,
nice
together.
Cool, man.
No, definitely, we're absorbing a lot of the same influence, and it's like one of these things. If I hear something musical, it's sometimes like that just really catches my interest. It's almost my instinct to shoot it to him so he can hear it too.
Right on.
Because you can like cross-pollinate minds when you're trying to make music with a person. Very important.
Yeah, I mean it's always getting another set of ears is super important, and just collaborating in general can just
I mean, just like
You do
last
things you never do.
I went over and drank beer, helped him stain his siding or whatever, and but we had music going the whole time. We were discussing music the whole time.
Right.
It's important to be just as like I think intellectually committed to music as you are like physically committed to playing it. You know.
Well, and I think that can kind of
Yeah.
separate, the seriousness of it, because sometimes people don't want to get too intellectual on it.
I
So to
know, like,
speak.
and
But
honestly, like things like the Grateful Dead and Fish, like absorbing those catalogs for me for a long time. I'll be honest, it was just intimidating. It's like
ah,
finally get around to like sitting and absorbing, these shows and like doing my homework, and then you get
right.
a period of time where you can do it and you do it.
Yeah, totally.
um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I've found I'm more obsessed with like the songwriting aspect, but it's like equally as important to have the musicianship, which could also be, people can play anything basically. People who can play jazz can practically play anything. Um, and like you're
yeah, I
saying,
think
what's appropriate for the song? You know what I'm saying?
right. Yeah, I
And
definitely. I mean, we want to have jazz chops, but jazz is sort of esoteric. I mean, just because jazz
mm,
is great, and just I mean, I don't want to diss people because they can't sit and listen to an hour of jazz. That doesn't make
right.
that doesn't make you a lazy
Well,
listener or anything.
when it's pretty broad term in itself too.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
true. I mean, like, there
it's
is
like
easy listening jazz. I guess when I say jazz, I more often, due to just my
that.
perspective, I'm thinking like free jazz, bebop.
Were you
Um,
thinking like the Davis kind of grittier sound too? The fucking like
yeah, dissonant,
nightclub.
dissonant. I mean, I
Yeah,
love Louis Armstrong. I love Ella Fitzgerald. But when I think jazz, I'm not thinking
Cab Calloway.
I'm not always thinking that.
Yes, that's like the most go-to, I guess. No,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think kind of like I would say Miles Davis is I mean Coltrane, but
Yeah, Coltrane's
it's
another
just kind of like I like that darker. It's in the
Herbie
groove more.
Hancock.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
then
the
I love
movie
people.
cool jazz.
I love people like Ray Charles though. He was a great jazz player, but also wrote great songs. And some of his
Yeah,
songs are simple as shit, but he
almost the
could.
father of rhythm and blues for sure.
Who?
Ray Charles.
Oh, for sure. And that's like, I mean, he like showed both, like that he was insanely talented, but also that he could, I got a woman, whatever.
And that
Simple.
man, like, talk about a man that didn't want to stop exploring, man. Like, at the height of his fame, he's going to release a country album.
Yeah, exactly.
Incredible.
And it's great. His country stuff's great.
Incredible. One of the
You
best
know,
albums ever. Yeah, Ray Charles. Can't touch it.
true artist.
Sun Ra is another big jazz influence. I often forget, but Sun Ra was talk about like almost like a father of Afrofuturism in music.
Hmm.
Um,
Not too
dressed in a
familiar.
very far out style, dressed sort of like the Egyptian sun god, hence the name Sun Ra. We're talking.
Okay.
We're talking. This
Now
is
it's
the
ringing a
50s.
bell.
This man's dressing up in like he's from outer space and playing pretty straightforward jazz music, but his way of presenting it was like George Clinton in like 19
That's dope.
unreal. And just thinking about even Little Richard, rest in peace, who just passed.
Yeah.
How punk it was for him to be, a flamboyant rock and roll black man in Georgia.
Yeah, no shit, dude. And in his, he was just like, I mean, yeah, they say he kind of invented, well, him or Chuck Berry invented rock and roll, but his style, man, was just like so energetic. His voice is like so high pitched, but like still great.
Vocal cords, like it's
Yeah. I mean, I think he like blows like, what, Jerry Lee Lewis out the water.
Yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis tries, but
I mean, he's not. I mean, I like Jerry Lee too, but come on, I don't know.
yeah.
Rest in peace, Little Richard, for sure.
Little Richard, man, just it's like I mean, it's just as provocative for his time as Prince,
Oh, absolutely.
if not
Yeah,
more.
that's a good example for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely, he was at least the Prince of his time, if not
Yeah.
more, maybe.
at the very least.
Well, shit, man. I'm sure we could do music, talking, intellectual conversations all night. Anything else you want to put in the ether as far as your own music or things you wanted to
No, I mean,
make
I
a
guess
point?
this the most important thing I can say is just like, I've never I mean, I've never been in a position where I've continuously necessarily earned my living off of my music, but I hope that people, that aren't earning a living off music right now that were stay inspired, continue to do it.
Totally.
Because I stayed inspired, whether I was getting paid to do it or not, the whole time. Um,
Yeah.
uh, do it for your own sanity, if anything.
Dude, that's a great point, man, cuz like I feel like that's how I like kind of know how to live broke now because I lived poor for so long just chasing music. You know what I'm saying? It
Right.
didn't matter if you made money. You just wanted to play, and if you could make some, it's great. If not, whatever, have fun. But it's almost yeah, that's a good point. And it's yeah, it's unfortunate, man. A lot of people are out of work right now, and who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what the
I mean,
future holds?
Yeah. Just
Stay positive.
get busy being productive with this time. Do something, build something, create something.
Totally.
Can't do that. Just try to maintain your inner peace and be happy. Plenty of art there for you to enjoy, even if you're not creating it. So
Maybe stay off the social media a little
little
less.
bit. It might be the perfect time to take a break. I hear the
Right.
weather's supposed to be nice next week. So
Oh man, I think we're finally maybe out of this winter officially.
very strange. Very weird. 40 degrees in the middle of May.
We still have like snow and all the shady spots, the shadows, you know. But
Yeah.
it's
I,
supposed to be
mean, I just
60s.
took the windy day yesterday, flew a kite with my boy. Can't
Oh,
complain.
nice.
Got to make the most of what it gives you.
Totally, man. Yeah, hopefully the summer is actually here in the near future. But yeah, man, I'd love to get out there and jam if it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think we're
Could
doing it
even
again
bring
next
my own-
Wednesday. If you want to ride over with me, even I can. I go right by you. So,
Oh, so you pick him up in Montgomery and then
I go to Montgomery to jam, so I could swing through.
Oh.
Way, if
Well,
you-
I could pick up maybe the lead guitar guy. He lives in Orleans, and then we could. Would that be cool? Are you? I mean,
Yeah.
and should
yeah,
we
'cause
like?
if you're in Orleans, you can go right over Lowell Mountain, and Route 58's open now too, so you can go
Cool.
over, Lowell over Hazen's Notch into Montgomery that way. It's really
Well,
good ride this time of year too.
Would it be like ideal to like bring some extra power supply? Because I could probably do that.
Yeah, if you can, yeah, it might be ideal.
I have like a power inverter thing that you could like just run off my car.
Yeah, well, that's
Or a
rad.
car.
Yeah, because we could definitely use some extra power. We've only done it as a 3-piece, but it'd be cool if we could set up some of the synth and loopers too.
Yeah, totally, man.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, yeah, the one guy, my lead guitar player, he plays with this crazy like Helix. It's like 20 pedals in one. It can loop and it can do
Right.
anything, man. It's like a computer
yeah,
$1,500 board thing. I don't know. I'm kind of limited on the effects range, but
yeah.
I like to jam and whatnot. But
Yeah, it's like I picked
Yeah,
up
that'd
the
be cool.
bass myself today, and I can play the thing just fine. But it's when you get into like working with the effects on it, it's like this is not my territory.
I kind of like know what I like to hear, but like getting there is a different thing.
Yeah,
You gotta get well, you can figure it out, but all in good time, I guess. Yeah, man, I'd love to. I think he probably would too, man, because we were supposed to jam with these other guys, but they're like older and they got all paranoid, and I was like, all right, it's all good.
yeah. No, yeah,
So-
we'd be
and
happy.
outside is cool. Outside,
Yeah,
is good.
outside. I
too.
mean, he's got a big deck. We've been doing it right on the deck. Beautiful view of like the mountains in Montgomery. You can see all the way clear to Belvedere. Beautiful up there.
Sweet, man. Bring a camera and jam out.
Yeah, he's
Record
been
some stuff.
recording with his like little Zoom thing too. He's got like one of those like stereo
Oh, yeah.
recorders for like live shows. But it
Yep.
can also work as like its own interface. So it's been helping us a lot with recording loops and stuff too.
Yeah, my buddy has a Zoom like a multi-track recorder, but it actually can run off double A's. So
Yeah, nice.
I think it has like two. It has two mics on the side, and then like the mixers in the middle or something.
Hmm.
Pretty pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I guess you're just over an hour away, I want to say.
Me from you?
Yeah.
More like a half hour.
Is it that close?
Half hour, 35 minutes probably.
Oh shit, that's not bad at all. So I guess, but then Montgomery, that's like 45 minutes from me. Or no, that's like maybe an hour. I guess I had to go to Orleans first, a little out of the way, but still, be all good.
No worries. Yeah, if you're in Orleans, you just go to Irisburg and over Lowell Mountains, your best way.
Okay, right on. Yeah, man, I'd love to. Let's stay in touch on that and figure that out. I'm gonna mention it to him. I think that sounds ideal, unless he has to work. It'd be like later in the day or.
Yeah, that's usually what we do. Is we're gonna do Wednesday afternoon. I drop my son off at his mom's at 2, and then I can get over there around like 3 or 4.
Cool. Right on. I'll see what his schedule is, but I definitely could do it.
Yeah. Sounds good, man.
Right on. Well, appreciate you being on the show. Anything else you want to say to the masses? I think you had what you just said was great. Stay inspired.
Stay inspired. Plenty to be inspired by. You just got to find it, cling to
maybe,
it.
get back in touch with nature a little or just
with
your
that's
instrument.
The big one for me, Get on a mountain or next to a piece of water and just stay there for a little while until you feel
There's so much inspiration in that as well, especially as a musician. I always found myself going to the woods multiple times. So
makes sense.
Get some peace, But right on, man. It was good getting to know you and good officially meeting you.
Absolutely. It was a good talk. I like getting to talk with people on that level. That's nice.
Yeah, totally, man. And we can all geek out. And my lead guitar player, he's like the same way. So, but he's a little older, but he's a cool guy. He shreds.
Yeah, I'd like to. Look forward to meeting him.
Cool, man. Well, let's stay in touch. Thanks again for being on the podcast. Thanks, brother. Good seeing you, man. Peace.